Hello ladies and gentlemen, I'm Abdul Hussein. Today is the February 23rd, 2019. Today we're going to talk about Shamima Begum and Hoda Muthana, the ISIS girls, and repercussions surrounding the saga. Now, this situation is actually pretty dramatic, and when I first saw the story unfold at its infancy, I only saw Shamima Begum, the British Bangladeshi girl, on the left hand side, as you can see here. I was not happy about that because I felt that she and Hoda Muthana, as I'll mention later, I felt that they've both made silly mistakes, crazily silly mistakes, to actually join ISIS. And when you start delving into how ISIS was supported and funded and constructed and had dealt with certain countries and so on and so forth, you'll find that they're not really a legitimate group, let's put it that way. And you'll also find out that their actions, or their purpose, was literally just to destroy countries that they were deployed in to further their supporters' agendas, which in ISIS's case is actually the West, or to be more precise, the US and Israeli interests. So in this article here, you talk by Mint Press News, it talks about how the West created ISIS, and it goes into great depth as to how they were created. This article is a very long one, so I suggest you actually take some time out to read the article and glean out that information because I've read it. It does cover the origins and the support in basic terms. Well, basic but really thorough terms. Then you got another article from the 21st Century Wire. All of these links will be in the show notes at the end of the video, by the way. But in the 21st Century Wire article, here it says, UN report reveals how Israel has coordinated with the ISIS militants inside Syria. It talks about the ISIS-Israel link in more detail. Then in the Global Research article, you also got this article called America Created Al-Qaeda and ISIS, and it goes into much detail about that. Here, I'll actually read this one, because read bits and bobs of this one, because it's quite short. But here, this pretty much more or less sums up the ISIS in a nutshell. Here, so I'll read it out for you. Much like Al-Qaeda, the so-called Islamic State, or ISIS, is made in the USA, an instrument of terror designed to divide and conquer the oil-rich Middle East and to counter Iran's growing influence in the region, or regions. But in the fact that the US has a long and torrid history of backing terrorist groups will surprise only those who watch the news and ignore history. And this article talks about the history of that story in great depth, and talks about how these groups only further Israeli interests and US interests as well. So literally, as you can tell here, ISIS is not really a legitimate group now, are they? So there's that. Secondly, even though even though you have that aspect, you also got the fact that their mistakes will only their mistakes will cause further tensions between Muslims and non-Muslims, and that in the sense that if it will actually fuel Islamophobia even more, because when the average person sees this or stories like this, especially when sensationalized or presented in a sensationalist manner, like in the Metro news article, which says, if I can, jihadi bride stripped of UK passport, which I'll show later, by the way. It's the Metro, that was a Metro newspaper on which was issued on 20th of February. But if you see stories like that, they'll think, oh great, it's the bloody Muslims again, causing havoc, causing terrorism, and that you see, it does get really infuriating, because the Muslims will now feeling awkward and they actually fear for their lives, for their lives, especially the more violent Islamophobes, where let's put it this way, they will not be happy. They will blame it on Muslims for the causes, the issues, and so on and so forth. So that's why I was not happy with when I saw that story at its infancy. But once I sat back and once I looked into this situation and how the story unfolded, it made me realise that not only you have this issue, there's one additional point which I've written in another unrelated article, but does touch upon the point that I will mention now, which is the abuse of laws and how that could lead to oppressing people even more. And two tweets that I've read sum this up really nicely, and there's a few other people who have mentioned this, but these two are standout examples in my book as to how laws can be abused to either make someone stateless or basically for whatever reason, like for instance censoring folks, or just even doing things that the UK or US or any country doesn't like. So I'll read this first tweet. This one from a Muslim convert named Salaam, who's also a writer for the American Herald Tribune. Here goes: the UK revoking citizenship of the terrorists that they funded is an alarming precedent, because they can take away citizenship of non-terrorist folks, especially Muslims, for arbitrary means. Focus on the policy of arbitrary citizenship revocation and not making Begum into a victim. That I actually agree with, because the UK these governments should be called out for the fear of abusing these rules and regulations to not give these suspects a fair chance, and for enabling that slippery slope whereby anyone could just be rendered stateless or be unpersoned or whatever, to the point where they're stripped of their powers or their rights. And that can actually cause more havoc than to be honest with you. So he's touched on that point very well. And here's another tweet that I've come across as well, which actually basically mentions the same point, but in 4 tweets in the thread. His name is Hundal, and he's a writer. He's a journalist for The Independent. Writes columns mainly for The Independent. He calls himself a British journalist and works at Open Democracy. So he goes, I really hate the idea of defending someone like Shamima Begum. I hate ISIS and everything they stand for, but the Home Secretary, the UK Conservative Party's Sajid Javid, is abusing his powers by stripping someone off their British citizenship. It sets a very dangerous precedent. And imagine if someone commits a crime abroad and they're just disowned by the country. They're left with no right to travel or live anywhere or even seek a trial. And the Tories will abuse this precedent, as every government has abused terrorism powers to lock up critics. Shamima Begum should have been brought back to Britain and put on trial here. There she's a threat to locals who hate ISIS more than we do. I have no issues with locking her up, but leaving her stateless is an appalling decision. And then he goes at this conflicting reports. Sky News says she has dual British and Bangladeshi nationality, but her family disputes that claim, stating that she was just a British national. He also, like I said, with Ali Salam's point, I also agree with what he had to say on the matter as well, as how that opens up the floodgates to abusing laws. And as is mentioned, you do have cases where that has happened, like for instance Marzieh Hashemi. Well, they've detained the US has actually detained a press TV journalist named Marzieh Hashemi back in January 2019, but thankfully she's free now. But in January she was detained for literally no proper reason whatsoever. The US didn't say much other than news was being and everyone was being told that she was literally detained. And there's reports that she was subject to inhumane conditions while failing to be fed a halal diet. Then you even had the Iranian Foreign Minister Javad Zarif calling out the US, asking her to be released immediately, and that this detention was a political game. So there's that issue, in the sense that if any government intends to detain folks on shaky ground, then it could happen to anyone. That's literally the message in a nutshell. There's a few other examples where laws can be abused to silence criticism or strip someone of their powers and their rights, therefore oppressing someone by proxy. Like in Saudi Arabia, you had someone named Israel Al-Ghangham who had the threat of the death penalty just for campaigning for human rights. Excuse me. Then you had a Manipur journalist, Kishore Echandra Wangchen, who branded the BJP minister N. Singh a Modi puppet, according to this Reuters article. He's actually detained So there's that slippery slope. And slightly off topic, but still worth to mention, is that you also have companies purging sites left, right, and centre. Yeah, which has happened to Jay Dyer. And yeah, Jay Dyer, Dr. Erwin, Scott Cretan of the Nomadic Everyman site, and yeah, if that's not a slippery slope, I literally don't know what the heck is. So there's that shaky ground, to be honest with you, and frankly, not only do I see where they're coming from, I also see the consequences of that. And speaking of dual citizenship, remember, Sunil Hundal said that there's conflicting reports. The Bangladesh themselves said that she will not be allowed in to come to Bangladesh, according to the Guardian article here. So that's put the UK in a pretty awkward situation there. So that says a lot. And then after that, you also have another article. Well, another article. Well, here, which is before this has happened. Before Bangladesh announcing that she can't come to Bangladesh at all. Remember when I showed you about the jihadi bride being stripped of the UK passport? Yeah, very sensationalist, isn't it? Jihadi bride Shamima Begum has been stripped of UK citizenship. Blah 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 blah. Okay. I did tell you about that the strategy of tension issue, like causing more havoc between non-Muslims and Muslims. If any average person would see that, they would think that, oh God, Muslims endorse this crap. Like I said, this is why I was initially not happy with the actual story at first glance. But well, I've mentioned that, to be honest with you, already. So that's that. But now, a few days after this story being unfolded on Shamima's side, you had Mike Pompeo and Donald Trump stating that they'd remove their citizenship rights off another ISIS so-called ISIS bride, but I'm not a big fan of that term, to be honest with you. But anyway, they've stripped her of her citizenship rights. And actually, I'll read this article for you. Hoda Muthana, not a US citizen, says Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. And basically, it goes that Mike Pompeo is not a US citizen, contrary to a lawyer who claims he has documentation of her citizenship according to news reports. And then Pompeo goes that she has no legal basis to claim US citizenship according to the Associated Press. And then this article continues with the situation, stating that Ms. Muthana is not a US citizen and would not be admitted into the US. Pompeo stated, she doesn't have any legal basis, nor valid US passport, nor right to a passport, nor any reason to travel to the US. Donald Trump said that he'll not allow her back into the country and has instructed Mike Pompeo to enforce that. And an attorney for the woman's family, Hassan Shibli, said that the administration's position is based on a quote-unquote complicated interpretation of the law involving her father. Do you see the parallels already? Revocation of citizenship rights on shaky, arbitrary ground. The US has done virtually the same thing as the UK with regards to their ISIS bride situation, but let's read on. The Trump administration continues its attempts to wrongfully restrict citizens of their citizenship, Shibli told AL.com. Hoda Muthana had a valid US passport and is a citizen. She was born in Hackensack, New Jersey in October 1994, months after her father stopped being a diplomat. Most people born in the US are accorded so-called birthright citizenship, but there are apparently exceptions. Under the Immigration and Nationality Act, a person born in the US to a foreign diplomatic officer is not subject to US law and is not automatically considered a US citizen at birth. According to AP, Shibli has released a copy of a birth certificate and a letter from the US official indicating her father is an ex-diplomat when she was born in 1994. Shibli says Muthana had a valid US passport before she joined ISIS in 2014. And then Shibli argues that her citizenship or the revocation of that would make her stateless. And then this article goes on and says that causing someone to become stateless could violate international law and the 1948 Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Article 15, which states that everyone has a right to a nationality and shouldn't be deprived arbitrarily of his or her nationality. Yeah. And this article goes on also to say that she makes the claim that she deeply regrets her decision to join ISIS and understands that she may face prison time, and she was welcome to facing one. Basically, she was more than welcome. She excuse me. Basically, she was open to the idea of just accepting any punishment that they would provide. Within the realms of fairness, and she understands that she may face prison time. And according to another Guardian article on her, she apparently goes that she wants to help the US de-radicalize others, and that, excuse me, that was my cell phone. But anyway, yeah, Hoda Muthana also claimed that she wants to help people no longer become radicalized. So that's literally the gist of it. And to be honest, I wouldn't want anyone to become radicalized or join groups, especially those who are literally set up for the sole purpose of causing tension and hatred and violence. No. I mean, no sane person would go, oh yeah, you know what we should do? Oh yeah, we should just fly off to ISIS. No. I wouldn't endorse that. I would not endorse that. No one would ever endorse that. So, yeah. To be honest, yeah, this situation is really messy, because you also have the strategy of tension angle because of the actions that they've caused and so on and so forth. That would lead to tensions between Muslims and non-Muslims, especially those who are Islamophobic. And you know what happens when tensions like that flare up. It's horrible. And Muslims who went through 9/11 and the so-called war on terror will already have that experience. So that's something they don't want to go through ever again. Secondly, you also have the ISIS and their supporters and their partners in crime and the partners in crime, basically, like Israel and the West, the USA, and so on and so forth. And then you have the legal issues and the president that their revocation of citizenship will cause, or rather will set, because, like I said, if their citizenship successfully gets revoked, it could happen to anyone else who might disagree with the US or the UK or China or Russia or literally any country, for just saying, for argument's sake, over certain views. So therefore, I like to wrap up this video by stating that after looking at all this, I really would have to say that I wish that both of the girls in question get the justice that they need in terms of going through the legal processes in the hopes that it gets implemented fairly, because the last thing they need is more trouble. Same thing applies to everyone else. I also hope that they don't get kicked out, because like I said, like others have said, that could lead to a slippery slope where the abuse of laws based on dodgy interpretations can lead to more abuse of laws and oppressing people by proxy. So you don't want that. I don't want that. No one wants that. And then yeah, that's literally it, because I'll be honest with you, I wish the best outcome comes out of this one. But unfortunately, it's like there's so much negative aspects of this story. So, other than that, I think this is the perfect time to wrap up this video. So, but before I actually go, as you can see here, I've actually prepared show notes for this video in question. So if you want to take a look at the articles that are provided or shown in the video, you're more than welcome to do that. So, other than that, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and this is Abdul Hussein signing out. Hope you guys have a good one.